Hello and welcome Champsy and Carlo. My name's Vanessa Atkinson and I'm here today to present to you my finalised designs for your company EcoPrint. I was really spoilt for choice with all of the incredible Australian flora and fauna out there to inspire me. However, I ended up managing to narrow it down to the beautiful Karimba flower. I was really attracted to its bright colours and textures and loved the contrast between its great big bushy crown and its very contained and controlled nut casing. I thought that the overall shape of this flower was really well suited to a repetitive pattern as well. I decided to incorporate some urban energy by manipulating and adapting a gum leaf and turning it into a representation of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I thought this was a really unexpected way to incorporate the architecture and the energy that you find in our bustling cities around Australia. I also wanted to make sure that the end designs had a very organic and handmade feel, as I felt that that really represented your company as well as this brief well. So with that in mind, I decided to use watercolours and hand painted the individual elements of each of the patterns, and then I digitally manipulated those so that I had a really balanced and pleasing end pattern. While all of the patterns use the same elements, I wanted to ensure that they could be used by a large range of customers in contexts all over Australia, as well as be printed onto a large range of textiles. I really liked the way that the lines in the Harbour Bridge are reflected in the lines of the flower as well, and I think that really brings unity to the patterns as a whole. My first pattern, this was actually one of my first sketches and I've kept coming back to this throughout the design process. I really love both the structure of this but also the energy and the way that the flower seems to just jump off the page at you. I think that this would be really beautiful when used as a wallpaper and could be really fun as an occasional feature chair. My second pattern is a little bit more structured perhaps than my first and a little bit more geometric. That being said, I think it still has a very organic feel to it, and I think that the flower is very much the feature. I've changed the scale of the bridge a little bit so that it's slightly smaller, and that's giving me these long lines almost with a bit of an elliptical illusion happening. I can see this being used really nicely on some curtains using the vertical lines in the pattern to create height in a ceiling. My third pattern is a slightly smaller scale, and the flowers and the bridge are a little bit more closer in size. I think that, again, this pattern has a bit of structure to it, but at the same time, it's very organic. I'd love to see this used on some throw cushions next to a slightly larger pattern perhaps, and you could always change the orientation again so that we've got these beautiful vertical lines, and I think that they would work really nicely on curtains to heighten a ceiling again. For my colour schemes, they're based on tropical, alpine and arid inspirations as per the brief. When I was researching, I noticed that your common customer, the Eco Lodge, often uses their environmental surroundings as inspiration and basis for their decoration inside. With this in mind, I wanted to ensure that the colour schemes I chose weren't isolating or too limiting and could be used in these environments. My first colour scheme, based on tropical, I wanted to ensure that it was applicable not only to oceans but also rainforests, as we have a lot of that up north. My particular image that I was inspired by was this amazing sunset in Palm Cove, and it made me think of lazy days at the beach and cocktails at sunset. I decided to use this turquoise blue next to this warm coral, as I felt that they not only represented our oceans and the corals you find there, the blue skies and sunsets, but also could be representative of the birds of paradise flowers that you find in the rainforests and the cassowaries as well, meaning that this would fit in quite well in a rainforest eco-lodge. My second colour scheme, Alpine. For this I used an image of the snowy mountains as my inspiration, and I wanted to create a colour scheme that represented not only the snowy ski fields and the icy gum trees, but also the snowy mountains when it's not snowing, so those rolling hills and the dry grasses that survive year after year and the clear skies. So with that in mind, I've chosen an icy dusky blue as well as a dusky grey-green, which I think will work really well whether it's in a chalet in the middle of ski season in the snow, or in an eco-lodge in the middle of summer up in the snowy mountains. My final colour scheme is based on arid, and this image here is of Kings Canyon in the Northern Territory. In this image, I just love the bright, rich orange red next to the really clear and crisp blue sky, and then this incredible grass that has somehow survived in these conditions. I decided that because Australia is so well known for that rich orangey red, that I was going to use that to represent my arid scheme, and decided to compare it to an olive green. I did this because I really loved the contrast that gave and the energy that I found with my end designs when I applied it. I put together for you some marketing materials to give you an idea of what this can look like when applied. I've just used one pattern in one colourway to give you a bit of an idea here, and I've played around with the scale a bit as well to give you a bit of an idea of what it could look like in a large scale on a wallpaper, for example, as well as a smaller scale on lampshades and cushions and such. I did notice also during my research that a lot of the eco-lodges use quite a neutral and pattern-free interior with the occasional pops of colours and very much an accent pattern. So I think that these patterns that I've created in these colour schemes will work really well in those environments, and that there's something here for an eco-lodge up in far north Queensland and one in the middle of ski season, or one in the middle of the desert. That there should be lots of applications for these patterns. Thank you again very much for your time today, and I would love to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.